Picture someone you look up to. Maybe it's a mentor, a beloved teacher, a respected community member. Now imagine watching them gradually transform into someone completely unrecognizable, someone capable of actions you'd never expect. What if I told you this kind of transformation isn't just rare or freakish, it's actually part of a disturbing but consistent pattern we see throughout human history and behavior? Today, we're diving headfirst into one of the most haunting and thought-provoking questions about human nature. Why do good people sometimes do bad things? By the end of this video, you're going to uncover some eye-opening truths, the psychological triggers and hidden social mechanisms that can push ordinary individuals into moral darkness. But more importantly, you'll also learn how to spot those forces in your own life and what you can do to resist them. And trust me, the last insight we'll explore might just be the most important one you've ever heard. This journey will take us through some shocking psychological experiments, infamous historical moments, and deep philosophical reflections. Along the way, we'll peel back the layers to reveal just how thin the line really is between good and evil. But this isn't just about other people. This is a mirror, a chance to look inward and ask the most uncomfortable question of all. What would I do in their place? Could I be swayed too? Stick with me, because what we're about to uncover might change how you see the world and yourself forever. The Lucifer effect. When good people go bad. Let's start with a powerful concept called the Lucifer effect, a term coined by psychologist Philip Zimbardo. You may know him from the infamous Stanford prison experiment, a study that stunned the world. Here's what happened. Zimbardo created a mock prison in the basement of Stanford University and randomly assigned college students to play the roles of guards and prisoners. The results? Terrifying. Within just a few days, those playing the role of guards became abusive and controlling. The prisoners, also regular students, started showing signs of extreme stress, submission, and emotional breakdowns. What Zimbardo discovered was deeply unsettling. Under the right circumstances, even well-meaning, moral individuals can morph into perpetrators of harm. It wasn't about bad apples. It was about a rotten barrel. The environment, the roles we play, and the authority structures we're placed under can radically distort who we are. And it doesn't stop in the lab. Look at history. Think about the guards at Nazi concentration camps, the soldiers involved in ethnic cleansing, or even the silent bystanders who watched atrocities unfold in their own communities. Were all of these people born evil? No. In many cases, they were completely ordinary individuals, just like you and me, swept up in systems and situations that unleashed something dark. So why does this happen? Let's break it down. The power of authority. Back in the 1960s, psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted a now famous experiment on obedience. He wanted to understand how far people would go simply because someone in authority told them to. Participants were instructed to deliver electric shocks to another person, who was actually an actor pretending to be in pain. The shocks increased in intensity each time. Many participants were visibly distressed, but most continued to deliver the shocks, even when they believed they were causing real harm, because an authority figure in a white lab coat told them to. Scary, right? Now think about your own life for a moment. How often do we follow rules, orders, or expectations without really questioning them, whether it's from a boss, a teacher, a leader, or even society itself? What would you do if someone in power asked you to bend your values for the greater good? Would you speak up or fall in line? The power of dehumanization. Another force that plays a major role in this transformation is dehumanization. When we strip others of their humanity, labeling them as enemies, outsiders, or less than, it becomes disturbingly easy to justify cruelty. This tactic has been used again and again in war, propaganda, and political conflicts throughout history. And it's not just in extreme cases. Look around today. How often do we hear groups of people reduced to stereotypes? Entire communities labeled with dismissive or derogatory language. The more we stop seeing people as individuals with hopes, fears, and emotions, the easier it becomes to dismiss, hurt, or ignore them. When empathy dies, anything becomes possible. Social roles and group dynamics. But that's still not the whole picture. Let's go back to Zimbardo's experiment for a second. What really shocked the world was how quickly the participants lost sight of their own identities and began to become the roles they were assigned. The students assigned to be guards started behaving with hostility, even sadism. The ones cast as prisoners became withdrawn and helpless. None of these behaviors were part of their real personalities. It was the environment, the roles, and the group dynamics that brought them out. So, here's the million-dollar question. How much of who we are is actually us? And how much is shaped by the roles we're given by society? Are we truly making free choices, or are we unknowingly playing parts written by systems, institutions, and expectations around us? Recognizing the forces at work. The forces we've just discussed, authority, dehumanization, and group dynamics, aren't just abstract theories. They're at work in our daily lives. You see them in offices where toxic leadership goes unchallenged, in schools where bullying is normalized, on social media where entire groups are mocked, dismissed, or attacked, even in families where silent hierarchies create unspoken rules. The first step in resisting these forces? Recognizing them. Because once you see how they operate, you gain power over them. The slippery slope. The moment. It begins. You might be wondering, what's the tipping point? When does someone cross that invisible line from good to bad? Here's the hard truth. It usually starts small. Tiny compromises. A choice to stay quiet when you see something wrong. A decision to go along just this once. Maybe it feels safer. Maybe it's easier. But small decisions pile up. One step, then another. And before you know it, the slope has taken you further than you ever intended to go. So take a moment and reflect. Have you ever made a choice that didn't sit right with your values, just because it was convenient? What was the result? What did it cost you or someone else? Coming up next. In the next part of this video, we'll dive even deeper. We'll explore the internal psychological shifts that allow people to rationalize harmful behavior, like moral disengagement, and the hidden ways our empathy can be turned on or off, like a switch. But most importantly, we'll begin to uncover the strategies you can use to resist these forces. Because yes, the danger is real, but so is your power to rise above it. Are some people immune? Let's address a question that lingers in the back of many people's minds. Are some individuals truly immune to the Lucifer effect? Is there a special kind of person who just can't be corrupted? Someone who, no matter what, would never give in to darkness? It's comforting to think so. But the truth? None of us are entirely immune. Psychologists have studied this extensively. While certain traits, like empathy, strong self-awareness, and moral courage, can act as shields under the right or wrong circumstances, any of us can be vulnerable. Think about it like this. Every human being carries within them the potential for both incredible kindness and shocking cruelty. That's not being pessimistic. It's being honest. This internal duality has been written about in religion, philosophy, and literature for thousands of years. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung called it the shadow, the darker, hidden parts of ourselves we don't like to acknowledge. According to Jung, true self-awareness only comes when we confront that shadow, not run from it, not pretend it's not there, but face it head-on and bring it into the light. Glimpses of the shadow. Have you ever felt a surge of jealousy or anger that shocked you? Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment and immediately regretted it? Have you ever wanted to hurt someone emotionally just to feel better? Those flashes, those impulses, are glimpses of the shadow, and left unchecked, they can grow. They can start to define how we act, especially in situations where there's pressure, fear, or a breakdown of moral norms. But here's the empowering part. Awareness is the first line of defense. When you understand the internal and external forces at play, you can start resisting them. You're not just drifting, you're steering. Moral disengagement. The inner switch. Let's go even deeper into how these forces work. Not in theory, but in your actual daily life. One of the most dangerous mechanisms is something called moral disengagement, a term coined by psychologist Albert Bandura. Here's what it means. Moral disengagement is when someone rationalizes or justifies harmful behavior so they don't feel guilty about it. Ever heard someone say, "Well, everyone else is doing it. It's for the greater good. They deserved it." That's just how the world works. These aren't just excuses, they're ways we distance ourselves psychologically from the consequences of our actions. They allow people to violate their own values without feeling bad about it. Let's be real, this happens everywhere. A student cheats and tells themselves it was a one-time thing. A boss mistreats employees and says it's necessary for productivity. Someone lashes out online and says, "It's just the internet. It's not real life." Over time, those small acts of moral disengagement add up, and each one makes the next one a little easier. The antidote: moral vigilance and empathy. So, how do we fight back? One powerful tool is moral vigilance. That's the habit of actively questioning our actions and their impact, even when it's uncomfortable. Ask yourself, am I making excuses for something I know deep down is wrong? Would I be okay with someone else doing this to me or someone I love? If this were on the front page of the news, would I still feel good about it? The second antidote is empathy. Not the fluffy kind, but the kind that actively fights dehumanization. When we deeply connect with others, when we understand their fears, dreams, and humanity, it becomes far harder to justify hurting them. This is why storytelling, art, and face-to-face human interaction are so powerful. They tear down the labels and remind us we're all human, flawed, complex, worthy of compassion. Leadership and the bigger picture. But let's zoom out, because this isn't just about individuals, it's also about the systems we're a part of. What about governments, institutions, communities? What happens when the system itself is corrupted? History has shown us that leaders can either be a force for massive good or devastating harm. Think of Adolf Hitler, who used fear and hatred to justify mass murder. Then think of Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr., who inspired peaceful resistance and social transformation. Same human potential, very different outcomes. The difference? Vision, courage, empathy, and the ability to resist dehumanizing narratives. So now ask yourself, who are the leaders you follow? Do they promote justice, empathy, and accountability? Or do they thrive on division, fear, and blame? Just as importantly, what kind of influence are you having on the people around you? You may not have a podium or a title, but you do have power, in your family, in your friend group, at work, online. Every day you're modeling something. Are you modeling integrity? Or are you normalizing moral shortcuts? The battle inside. If there's one thing that's becoming clear, it's this. The battle between good and evil isn't just happening in history books or courtroom trials. It's not just in politics or prisons or other people's decisions. It's happening inside each of us, every single day. That may sound scary, but it's also hopeful, because it means that just as people can fall, they can also rise. The same human mechanisms that can produce monsters can also create heroes. We all have the capacity to step up, speak out, and stand firm, even when it's difficult. What's next? So now the question becomes, how do we build that strength? How do we prepare ourselves to recognize the moment we're being pulled off course before it's too late? That's exactly what we're going to tackle in the final part of this video. We'll explore concrete, actionable strategies for staying morally grounded in a world full of pressure and gray areas. We'll talk about how to build moral courage, how to respond to environments that challenge your values, and how to become the kind of person who doesn't just avoid moral failure, but actively inspires others toward good. And most importantly, we'll arrive at the final insight. the one that brings all of this together in a way that might just change the way you live your life. Recognizing and resisting moral failure. Let's pick up right where we left off, with a big, sobering truth. Awareness alone isn't enough. Yes, recognizing the psychological forces that lead us astray is powerful. But knowledge without action? It's like knowing you're walking toward a cliff and not stopping. So today, let's go beyond awareness and into resilience. How do you build the inner strength to resist the Lucifer effect in your own life? It starts with one of the most underrated forms of bravery, the power of moral courage. Moral courage is the ability to do the right thing, even when it's uncomfortable, unpopular, or risky. It's speaking up when staying silent would be safer. It's standing your ground when everyone else is nodding along. Think about Rosa Parks. She wasn't famous, she didn't have power, but she refused to give up her seat and sparked a movement. Or think about whistleblowers who risk their careers to expose corruption. These aren't superheroes. They're ordinary people who made a hard choice. Moral courage doesn't mean you're fearless. It means you act despite the fear. How to build moral courage. You don't just have moral courage, you develop it, like a muscle. Here's how. 1. Identify your core values. What do you believe in, deeply? Honesty, compassion, fairness, accountability? Knowing your non-negotiables makes it easier to recognize when a situation challenges them, and it gives you a compass when things get blurry. 2. Practice mental rehearsal. Seriously, imagine yourself in an ethical dilemma. What would you do if your boss asked you to lie to a client? What if you saw someone being bullied at work or school? How would you respond if a close friend said something cruel about someone else? Walk through the scenario in your mind. Plan your response. Rehearse it. This may sound small, but it prepares your brain to act when it really counts. 3. Build a support system. Surround yourself with people who share your values. When you're in a culture of integrity, it's easier to stay aligned. They'll encourage you, hold you accountable, and give you strength when you're doubting yourself. Situational awareness. Spotting the trap before it springs. But what if the environment itself is toxic? What if you're in a workplace, group, or system that subtly, or not so subtly, erodes your values? This is where situational awareness becomes critical. Start by asking, what are the unspoken rules here? What behaviors are being rewarded? Who gets silenced and who gets praised? When you notice patterns of manipulation, exclusion, or harm, don't just shrug them off. That's your signal. Just because something is normal doesn't mean it's right. The power of small actions. Sometimes we feel like we can't make a difference, like we're too small to matter. But that's not true. Small actions create ripple effects. One person speaking up can give others permission to do the same. One act of kindness can challenge a culture of cruelty. One honest conversation can open a door to change. You don't have to save the world. Just tilt it in the right direction. And remember, your silence sends a message too. Every choice, even the ones you don't make, adds to the environment around you. The importance of self-reflection. The philosopher Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Self-reflection is the secret weapon of moral clarity. It's how we grow. It's how we course-correct before it's too late. Ask yourself, what motivated my actions today? Did I treat people with respect and empathy? Was there a moment when I stayed silent, but shouldn't have? This isn't about guilt, it's about learning. You're not aiming for perfection, just progress. And when you fall short, because you will, we all do, don't wallow in shame. The power of self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness isn't letting yourself off the hook. It's owning your mistake, making amends if needed, and choosing to do better moving forward. Guilt keeps you stuck. Responsibility moves you forward. So reflect, apologize when necessary, and recommit to your values. The moment you forgive yourself, you reclaim your power. Resilience through connection. Standing up for what's right can feel lonely, but it doesn't have to be. Resilience grows in community. Find people who inspire you, Read about changemakers, seek out mentors, teachers, or friends who lift you up, and be that person for others. One of the best ways to reinforce your values is to help others live theirs. Cultivating the heroic imagination. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo didn't just study the Lucifer effect. He also championed something called the heroic imagination. It's the belief that heroism is a mindset, not a miracle. That ordinary people, when prepared and willing, can do extraordinary things. Start training your heroic imagination. Look for chances to do small, brave things. Help someone in need. Speak up when it's easier not to. Choose kindness, even when you're angry. Heroism isn't dramatic, it's deliberate. The most powerful insight of all. So, what's the ultimate takeaway? The most important realization in all of this? It's this. The line between good and evil doesn't run between countries or political parties or belief systems. It runs right through the middle of every human heart. That means no one is all good, and no one is beyond redemption. It means we all carry the potential for harm and for healing. And most importantly, it means that every moment is a new chance to choose. To choose integrity, to choose empathy, to choose courage, to choose love. Your challenge. As we wrap up this journey, here's your challenge. Take what you've learned and apply it. What forces are trying to pull you off course? Where can you speak up even when it's scary? How can you model integrity in your daily life? You don't need a title to lead. You don't need a platform to make a difference. You just need to decide right now what kind of person you want to be. The world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more people willing to be honest, brave, and kind, especially when it's hard. So the next time you're faced with a moral crossroads, remember this. You have the power to choose. You have the strength to resist. You have the potential to be a force for good. The question is, will you rise to the challenge? Thanks for watching. And more importantly, thanks for thinking deeply. The world needs that more than ever.